Welcome, everyone. The Center of Excellence in Smart Construction is pleased to present this virtual seminar, Future-Proof Workforce in the Construction Industry, Harnessing the Power of Diversity. My name is Dr. Wendu Oguda, and I'm the manager of the Center of Excellence in Smart Construction. Please note we are recording this webinar and all lines are muted. If you need help at any time, please send us a message via the Q&A chat box. Today's event will last up to 60 minutes. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the event. Simply type them into the Q&A chat box in the lower center of the screen, and then be sure to click the send button. The Center of Excellence in Smart Construction is committed to advancing industry-led innovations in the built environment that will revolutionize the way we develop, manage, and operate smarter cities. Our partners are like-minded organizations and government entities who like to lead the transformation of the built environment and development of next-generation professionals for the benefit of the economy. The Center is a global hub for disruptive thinking, a platform for collaborative research, and a model for solutions development and stakeholder engagement. The Center's industry-led research and development has a focus on enabling technologies around three main research themes: performance and productivity, sustainability, and well-being. The collaboration is intended to provide leadership in the future direction of the industry that will inform policy decision makers. We would like to acknowledge our industry partners who have been integral to the development of the Center and our engagement with industry. We would also like to acknowledge our ongoing relationships with our affiliates and our ongoing strategic alliances. It's now my pleasure to introduce our esteemed industry and academic experts. Ellen Lester is Assistant Dean of Construction and Architectural Technologies at Pennsylvania College of Technology in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. She was previously the Director of Built Environment Programs and Associate Chair of Graduate Studies at Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, New Jersey. Prior to Stevens, Ellen was employed at New School of Architecture and Design in San Diego and held positions such as Vice President of Membership and Marketing at the Design Build Institute of America, where she advocated for excellence in the AEC industry. Ellen has recently presented at several conferences, including ECC International, CMAA National, and the ENR Buildtech International. Her awards include SMPS Striving for Excellence Grand Prize in 2001, DBIA Chapter of the Year in 2003, the 2012 AIA California Council Associate of the Year, and the 2020 Carol A. Kuka Construction Education Visionary Award. Dr. Merin Gul is an Assistant Professor in Architecture Engineering in the School of Energy, Geoscience, Infrastructure and Society at Hertford University, Edinburgh. Her expertise is in solar radiation modeling, energy yield enhancement and characterization of solar technologies, and stakeholder engagement to elicit insights, user behavior, and attitude towards energy conservation and efficiency. Mary was the chair of Aegis Athena SWAN committee from 2019 to 2021 and led a large team to consult and develop actions to improve gender equality, eventually leading to an Athena SWAN Bronze Award for Aegis. Louise Collins is the Head of Project and Development Services, UAE, and Head of Energy and Engineering, Middle East and Africa at JLL. With over 21 years of experience in the construction industry in Europe and the GCC, Louise has extensive design management and project delivery experience across various industry sectors, including sustainable projects. As someone who has managed multiple teams comprising primarily men, Louise is a strong advocate for women in the industry and often works with schools and organizations to raise awareness about female representation. Ahmed Darwish is the CEO at Falcon Robotics. Ahmed is an engineer, entrepreneur, and inventor dedicating to building cutting-edge AI technology that delivers practical value. He started his career as an aircraft broker at ACS UK, and then as a flight operations engineer at Emirates Airlines, where he successfully led parts of the digital transformation of Emirates' fleet, saved millions in fuel costs, and lowered carbon emissions by millions of tons. In 2018, he founded Falcon Robotics and currently serves as the CEO. His career thus far has seen him earn prestigious entrepreneurship awards, recently recognized as CEO of the Year 2021 for UAE by the CEO Review Magazine UK. Ahmed has an educational background in aerospace engineering from EARU, Florida. He's an active member of the Royal Aeronautical Society and currently serves as a regional leader for MENA Airlines at Airbus Fuel Efficiency Group. I'll now hand over to our moderator for the webinar, Ellen. Over to you, Ellen.
Hi, so glad to be here today. I wanted to briefly introduce Dr. Mehreen Gul, who will be starting our presentations today.
Okay. Thanks, Alan. I'm just going to share my screen now. So can you see my slide? Okay, okay, perfect. So thanks, Wendell, and thanks, Alan, for the introduction. I am Mehreen Gul, and I'm going to talk about gender equality in advanced higher education, the Athena SWAN Charter. So there will be a brief explanation in my presentation about what exactly the Athena SWAN Charter is. And then I'm going to share some of my experience as the chair of Aegis Athena SWAN and how we worked to receive our Bronze Award. So Athena SWAN Charter is one of the UK advanced higher education charters. And it was established in 2005 to encourage institutions to recognize commitment towards the advancement of gender equality in terms of representation, success, progression within higher education and research. So since then, Athena SWAN has been working across the globe, and the first expansion outside of the UK took place in 2015 in the form of Athena SWAN Ireland. And the framework has since been adapted for use outside of Europe. So Athena SWAN now has pilot programs in Australia, United States of America, and Canada. So Athena SWAN principles acknowledge that academia cannot reach its full potential unless we or the academia can benefit from the talents of all. And so the principles have been devised to address unequal gender representation across academic disciplines and professional support services. To address high loss rate of women in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. So traditionally we have a very low rate of women in these subject areas. So it's working towards receiving gender parity for women in these subject areas. To remove the obstacles faced at major points of career development and progression. To promote inclusive working where everyone feels valued and there are equal opportunities, the processes are transparent, so it helps institutions to achieve that. And to meet equality legislation requirements, under the Equality Act UK 2010, it is illegal to discriminate against anybody on the basis of their race, religion, age, gender, sex, and the few other protected characteristics. So these principles help institutions to progress themselves in terms of achieving their gender equality commitments. So why is Athena SWAN needed? Athena SWAN recognizes that each institution, research institute, and department has different gender equality challenges. So there is a complex mix of cultural, social, and institutional factors that create barriers for some. And because of the complexity, the interventions that needed, which are also complex, and that needs a realization and an understanding of how these barriers are needed to be overcome so that the solutions can be devised. So the priorities should be developed based on understanding of the local evidence base and national and global gender equality issues. And Athena SWAN provides a targeted self-assessment framework which institutions can use to assess themselves in a coherent manner. When institutions join Athena SWAN, they commit to advancing their gender equality objectives through action planning. So they have to self-assess themselves, and then they come up with some actions to make improvements where there is unequal gender representation, as an example. And then they apply for different awards to recognize their success in what they have done. So the charter provides 3 different kinds of levels of awards: a bronze award, a silver award, and a gold award. So the bronze award recognizes that institute has a solid foundation for eliminating gender bias in order to develop a culture which is inclusive. And the action plan needs to be devised, which then need to be implemented after the award is being awarded. Silver award is where the institution or a department shows that they have implemented some of their actions and it has made an impact. And the gold award is the beacon of achievement in gender equality, and therefore it's used widely to share good practice. So Heriot-Watt University as an institution is currently holding a bronze award. And recently, Aegis, which is School of Energy, Geoscience, Infrastructure and Society, received a departmental bronze award. So Aegis, just to give you some context, Aegis is one of the 6 schools at Heriot-Watt University. It's a huge school. And when we look at the school, there are 6 institutes within the school. All institutes are different. So from Institute of Infrastructure and Environment to Institute of Geoenergy Engineering, Institute of Life and Earth Sciences, Institute of Sustainable Building Design, Social Policy and Housing Institute, and the Urban Institute. And all these institutes offer research and teaching in subject areas of like civil engineering, petroleum engineering, biology, architecture engineering, construction management and surveying, urban studies, geography, and geoenergy. So it's important for Aegis to self-assess because it's a complex school having a mix of different institutes, different challenges. So I led the Aegis self-assessment team composing of 22 members from across all institutes at different grade levels, from different disciplines and at different career stages. And the self-assessment team, the role of the team was to undertake evidence-based, transparent self-assessment of our processes and culture, and to direct our priorities for gender equality and develop an ambitious, comprehensive action plan, which is based on our self-assessment. So in terms of our analysis, we use the main areas where good practice can make a difference as defined by the Athena SWAN Charter. So from career transition to career development, career breaks, flexible working, organization and culture, we analyzed staff and student data to see where we are lagging behind, where we are making a difference, and where we need to improve. So for our analysis, we collated at least 3 years of institutional numerical data. We reviewed trends over time. We also compared our current data against data from 2015. We also used benchmarks, for example, Higher Education Statistics Agency's benchmark to compare our disciplines against those benchmarks. We also conducted a staff survey where we compared male and female responses to identify areas of gendered experience. And where their survey responses or data required further understanding, we also held specific focus groups and interviews to be clear on exactly what's going on and where improvements are needed. So we analyzed student data for our undergraduate population, our postgraduate taught population, and also our postgraduate research students. So analysis was based on the total number of students in different disciplines, students recruitment. So for example, when we analyze our overall numbers of undergrad students by gender over the last 5 academic years, we noticed an increase in the proportion of our female students. We compared our proportion of undergraduate female students against UK benchmarks, and we observed increases in female representation overall. AE, architecture engineering, is one of the strongest, where the difference from the benchmark was plus 21%, so 21% more than the UK benchmark. So overall, there wasn't much difference between the benchmark and the disciplines, but we are ambitious and we wanted to make improvements in civil engineering, CE, and CMS, construction management and surveying. And this is due to the fact that the numbers are less than 25%. And we also have this obligation, there is a requirement by Scottish government to have 25% of any gender in a specific discipline by 2030. So this is important for us and a priority. In terms of analyzing applications, offers, and acceptances data, we found that there is an improved female proportion in the number of applications received, and more for architectural engineering, so plus 7% from 39% in 2015 to 46% in 2019 and 2020. And when we analyzed this, we realized and we recognized that we have made significant improvements in our appeal to female applicants via improving sense of belonging. So for example, increased female imagery, 50% female or greater in promotional materials. We also enhanced increased participation of female staff and students at open and offer holder days. We also enhanced our post-offer engagement with individuals to whom offers were made. So AE is the most successful of all the traditionally male disciplines and provides a good practice case study that can be used for civil engineering and as a CMS. So we devised an action based on that for improving CE and CMS. So we will adopt and build on good practice such as the AE model to increase female recruitment into CE and CMS. And one of the key deliverables is to conduct a good practice workshop to share good practice, the AE transformational model with CE and CMS. So we spoke to the architecture engineering admissions team and how they engage with applicants and parents on open days and offer holder days, for example. And then we will have an adapted CE and CMS student recruitment approach mapped to ambitious female recruitment targets. So the success measure is that we will increase our female representation in CE from 24% to 30% and CMS 16 to at least 25% by 2025. When we analyzed our postgraduate taught recruitment data into geoenergy, we realized that the numbers are falling short significantly from the UK benchmark. So 14% less than the UK benchmark. So we came up with an action of increasing overseas female PGT recruitment into geoenergy, because a number of our students at that level are from overseas. So why are we not recruiting females and more males? So we said that one of the deliverables would be to collect information on how we engage with our overseas students. We will undertake an equality impact assessment of our overseas marketing and recruitment strategy, and also including consideration of market for part-time study options for mothers or for carers with families or young children. And then we will adapt GE student recruitment approach mapped to ambitious female recruitment targets. And the success measure would be to increase female representation in GE from 15% to 30% by 2025. When we analyzed staff data, we did that on the basis of staff at different grade levels, at different contract type, full-time, part-time, from different institutes, from different disciplines. And of there's a number of different factors that that we highlighted, and then we explored them further, getting data from not from the central university, but also from the local school data. And we realized that there may be some gaps in data and what the difficulties are there in terms of understanding the clear situation. So in some areas, the key is to get a coherent set of data to be able to make a useful analysis. So one of the actions we came up with the staff analysis is to embed an inclusive recruitment approach to increase the proportion of women hired to academic positions. So the deliverables in that all our open-ended job advertisements to undergo language review for gender bias using Equate Scotland's consultancy service, unconscious bias training for recruitment panels. 86% panelists have completed training, and we will continue with this initiative. And previously, only the chair had to go and complete an online recruitment and selection training, but now all the panelists, they need to complete this training. And encourage and promote flexible working in adverts for all vacancies, including grade 7 and 8. So in terms of staff data, we looked into recruitment data, we looked into induction data, promotion, training and support that the school provide, and the support provided by the central Heriot Ward, flexible working options and opportunities, and the culture. In terms of equality and diversity and inclusion, when we asked our staff how they value EDI at Heriot Ward University, we identified a gender perception of the value of EDI within ages. So 64% female versus 76% male. Aegis academics agreed that EDI is valued at Heriot Ward University. So we explored this further and then came up with an action to formally embed Athena SWAN principles and consideration of equality, diversity, and inclusion within our governance structures. So we formulated a new committee, which is the building our community management committee. And as a result of this, all the terms of reference for all the committees will be to revisit, to understand whether EDI principles are embedded in those committees to ensure that everybody is valued at Heriot Ward University. And so altogether, we came up with 18 actions. And so we received our bronze award just before the end of 2021. So it's very recent. And now is the time to implement those actions to make some improvements. So when we implement the action plan, we will monitor progress and then assess impact. And in future, with good level of impact, the school can opt for a silver award. So advanced higher education's international charters team work with governments, national and sector agencies and professional bodies to establish tailored and impactful charter frameworks. I just want to end my presentation by saying that if anyone is interested in an Athena SWAN pilot program, then please contact the international charters team at Athena SWAN. And with that, I just want to say thank you, and that's me.
Thank you very much. That was great. I wanted to welcome everyone to this discussion about this important topic, the future of our workforce, which literally depends on increasing diversity and embracing equity in the construction industry. As noted previously, we've got a terrific group of panelists today who are here to share their insights and experiences. So let's get started. I'm going to open this part of the seminar by asking the participants to briefly reintroduce themselves and their organizations within the context of the collaborative efforts they're taking to increase diversity and inclusion. Louise, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Louise Collins. I am Country Director for JLL Project and Development Services in the UAE, and I'm also heading their engineering and energy services across the Middle East. I've been in the region for 18 years. And the reason I'm very passionate about this is because I'm usually the minority in the room. And there's 11% of women in construction. And unfortunately, the numbers lagged behind. We have the same historical issue that we had when I began engineering 21 years ago. As JLL, we have a number of programs that we run all the way through from internships, graduate programs, leadership programs. We also go into schools to encourage people at lower grades and university to come into our industry. I think it's important that we have a vast pipeline of people coming in and then we retain them. But really it's about equal opportunity. It's about bringing the opportunity to people that may not have had it or may not have been interested in it before. So that's really where we're trying to focus at the moment.
Thank you. Ahmed, would you like to say something?
Hi, Alan. Well, to introduce myself, Ahmed Darwish, I'm the CEO of Falcon Robotics. In Falcon Robotics, most of our workforce are made of women. That just happened because of their skills. They add more value to my team. They're taking leadership positions. What I would like to say, like the initiative that we take, we allow them to take leadership positions. We allow them to, we give them the space. We allow them to grow and speak up, and not just dedicate them or use positions, whether it's engineering positions or managerial positions. We don't say this position is for a man or for no. Whoever can apply for it, who can go for it, it's open for everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Mehreen, would you like to contribute something?
I mean, I agree with what Ahmed and Louise has just said. So I think it's important to have the pipeline. So for example, we work with schools also because high school is the transition point where a number of students make their subject choices. And if we sell subject areas like construction or engineering, where traditionally we have an underrepresentation of women, then rather than talking about the core engineering aspects, if we talk about gender coded, feminine coded elements, for example, when I do architecture engineering open days, I make use of a house as an example, and which relates with a number of girls, and because house is something which we all, it has some kind of warmth and it attracts, and talking about how we make ourselves comfortable within a house, rather than saying, oh, you will have to do all the electrical design, we'll have to do all the mechanical design. And also in terms of relating with what's happening with climate change, I think we all relate very well with that. So I think that's a way of attracting younger generation more into these key areas of energy, engineering, and construction.
Great, thank you guys so much. Athena SWAN started in 2005. When did you begin your efforts and how have they advanced so far?
So we first received our bronze award in 2015, And I think we started 3-4 years prior to that in terms of collecting all the data and analyzing the information. I took over as the chair in 2019 until 2021 when we received our Bronze Award. So it wasn't simply a renewal process. We had to, because there was this gap, and there have been a number of changes with the school. The school expanded, and Institute of Life and Earth Sciences joined with Aegis, which is traditionally a school of built environment. And that has a major impact in terms of the working of the school. So we had to basically reapply for our Bronze Award, and have to demonstrate that we have the solid foundation and we are working towards. So of course, we looked at some of the actions from the previous plan, and some of those were implemented. For example, the changes, I'll give the example of architectural engineering again. So some of the examples I gave where we increased female imagery or visibility of role models. These were one of the actions from the previous plan. And so we compared and contrasted what we achieved, what we didn't, and then that's how we proceeded. So yeah, so it started from 2012, 2013, I believe, for the first time.
Perfect. Ahmed?
Sorry, I was going to say the role model representation is really interesting. We went into primary schools earlier this year and asked kids between 6 and 8 to draw an engineer, and every single one of them drew a man. So having that representation and that affiliation is really important.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
amazing.
Yeah.
Ahmed, did you have anything to contribute?
No, I mean, I'm in agreement with what they say, but what Louis just said, the drawing a man, I was like, yes, okay, that's, I never thought of it that way, but yes, we need to show the world there's women are engineers, women are leaders, women are really, I think whenever there's a woman in a construction site, whatever, in any project, we get much better results. So it's just, how do we change that image? It might be a bit of a challenge if something starts like, yeah, I mean, those are my points.
I
was going to say, with that imagery, we need to really make sure that we're not just putting token women in roles as well, because that's detrimental to everything we're trying to achieve, right? We need to make sure it's bad for the individual, it creates bias itself, and it's really bad for companies across the board. So making sure we're not just ticking boxes, we're bringing people in, we're training them up.
Totally agreed.
Across the board. Totally
agreed. I mean, it should be based on their skill, based on who deserves it, not just, as you said, just tick the box, just put it there, just fill up the gap. No. If we do that, we're not going anywhere. We're just making it worse. I think just pick the right person with the right skills, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of women leading more than men, taking on better positions.
Exactly. When we have a good balance of equality, diversity, and inclusion in our decision-making bodies, and that balance represents the society that we are providing for example, in terms of research. If men are doing research, then they're not looking towards the whole society. So the solutions they come up with will not connect with the rest of the population, I mean, not just gender, but in terms of other, for example, we have ethnic minorities, we have other people in our country. So it's important that we have a balance and we have a good number of people representing the society within the work that we do and the solutions that we provide. Yeah.
In addition to having women and other groups at the table actively participating, do you provide any sort of mentorship to those people so that they feel like they're supported as they venture into that new arena? Ahmed, do you have anything to say?
I mean, we wouldn't give anything special or give them better treatment, I would say, just because we're selecting women. No, I mean, we select the right person for the right job. I wouldn't give preference to anyone. I wouldn't give any special training. No, they would be the right fit for that position. And when it comes to, I mean, right now I just had a competition for, let's say, robotics competition for engineers. I mean, the best projects I got were actually women-led projects from between students. The boys were like more thinking about how to make money and how to get into crypto, but the girls, they were more creative. Their projects, I would actually want to take them and sponsor them right now and have them part of my company. I'm not trying to be biased or anything, but this is how it is right now. This is the situation.
And how old were those students?
They're about between 16 and 17, just high school students. Yeah, I got one on the 21st. I think is the final competition where I have to choose a winner. So let's see.
We'll be interested to see who you choose. Louise, do you have any sort of support mechanisms or mentoring available to those who are entering those higher echelons?
Yeah, definitely. But again, it's more gender inclusive than a female leadership training, etc. Making sure that we have equal amounts of men and women put into those training and leadership promotional trainings across the board, I guess. And then we do have KPIs for percentages of women, but considering again that we're only 11% of women within our industry, they're not a 50-50 split. So it's good that Dr. Gould showed that it's rational. You're going for small percentages to start with, and as the pipeline grows, and we can grow that, I guess. So yeah, we have a global leadership program that is available to everybody. Obviously, we try and encourage more women to apply for it. So then odds are we'll get a better split at the end of the day. And we have a great mentoring scheme in-house that involves both in-house teams and external as well. We also have a reverse mentoring system where we have students mentoring some of our senior leadership team.
Wow.
So yeah, a bit of a mix, but everything's available. I think what Ahmed touched on was sometimes guys just say they want it, whereas women sit back and don't ask for it. So I think we have to learn to do that a little bit better, to put our hands up and say, I want to be in the leadership role. I want the promotion. I don't just want the money. I'm going to earn the money.
Agreed.
That's very interesting, Louise, the point you made about reverse mentoring. So what's the core objective of doing that? I mean, how and what is it you do? It's really interested to hear.
So obviously it's quite archaic, some of our industry. So we now have people coming out of universities more qualified than the people that are running companies. So in senior leadership roles, we have young tech guys or young students that are mentoring our senior management into what's happening in the industry. So kind of disruptive mentoring, I would call it. So it's quite fun.
That's very interesting. I can so relate. Yes, there are a lot of young kids right now who would actually have the skills that us and we don't know about, and we'd actually need their help.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I like
especially
that.
Thinking about the tech side of things as well.
Exactly.
You guys, we actually have a question from the audience. What age or stage of education should we motivate our children and develop an interest in construction? Because I never knew I was going to be in construction. I managed to secure a job after university, and the company was a construction company. So now I'm in the construction industry since then. What would be the word/sentence that would inspire the children of that age to consider a future in construction? So how would you inspire children?
We've just spent the last month in secondary schools or second grade schools around the region, and so everyone's inspired by something different. Some of them were inspired by the fact we've worked on the best buildings in the region, that we've built skyscrapers. Some of them loved the IT digital aspect of twinning buildings and what we can do with IT to really change our industry. Some of them like the travel, some of them like the money. It's different for everybody. But I think what we tried to sell the most was it's really eclectic and you can adapt any skills to be encompassed within our industry, for me.
In my case, I would think you shouldn't focus on motivating the children. If construction is their thing, they're going to go into construction. You shouldn't force it to them or try to motivate them. Let it just come naturally. That's where the real talent comes in, without having to motivate them or like changing something so that they would like the domain. No, let it all work out by itself. It's just going to come naturally. I don't think there should be an age or any sort of motivation for it.
Okay.
The only issue with that, Ahmed, is women don't consider naturally going into construction. If we don't motivate them, then we're not going to bring them in. I
see your point. Yeah, well then maybe a little motivation then, show them make part of their early on, when show them different careers, what they can achieve. Yeah, okay. Definitely.
I get what you're saying. It's part of who you are, right? What you
exactly.
So it's just kind of guiding you into that in an industry, I guess.
So it's also, we need a culture change. So, I mean, we probably have heard this so many times that even as babies, we give toys as dolls to girls and bikes and hammers and all these kind of male stuff to boys. So I think it also needs to begin from home. So treating boys and girls in a same way. For example, when my son was about 4 years old, and I used to do ironing like once a week or so. So he was really fascinated with ironing, and I bought him an ironing stand and an iron, the toy. And my mother-in-law visited me and she said, what have you done? This is not a boy's job. So I think this mindset needs to be changed. And then gradually from school. So I think I go back to my point that if you relate everything with the crisis we are facing with regards to our planet. So why we need to construct sustainable buildings? What was the point? Because we want to save our planet, we want to save energy. And if we are in construction, then we have a huge responsibility, because 50% of buildings all over the world, they are the major consumers of energy, almost 50%. So how we create those sustainable buildings. And I think that relates very well with kids. And then encouraging them, okay, this is the profession you can go into, like construction, or you can go into architectural engineering, for example, or you can go into electrical engineering. And then when they come to high school, and then I think that's the responsibility of the guidance counselors or the careers advisors there, because a number of times I've heard from secondary school pupils that they weren't given the right advice at the time, and they did not have a clue what to do. And they're very young at that point, even 16, 17, they still don't know what they want to do in life. And so if at that point somebody visited them and explained it to them, this is not hard hat or boots, engineering doesn't mean that, but it can mean you can sit in your office and you can design fantastic buildings, you can do 3D modeling, and you can install renewable energy technologies, and you can compare and contrast which technology would work better, for example, in terms of saving energy. So all these things, I think, will have some impact.
I also think we need to address sustaining the people we have in our industry, because in the States, it was reported last year that 19% of women left our industry during COVID. We're obviously, we all talk about men and women being the same or being different, but fundamentally we're different. We have to acknowledge that to move on. And fundamentally, most women see themselves as the main homemaker, whether they're career women or not career women. So we have to give the flexibility to them women to be able to have children, to have flexible time, to have maternity leave, and all those things that go with it. And what you get back from that is exactly what Ahmed said. You get these women that are dynamic, that are passionate about what they're doing because they've been allowed to do all the things they want to do, not just one.
Excellent point. So there are some more questions from the audience. Is there a similar rating or assessment system for diversity and inclusion in construction companies? Something similar to the Athena SWAN.
Not to my understanding.
I'm not aware of anything either. Ahmed, do you have any?
No, I think Athena SWAN is the first one I hear of, to be honest. Yeah.
I think it'd be great if we could adapt, though, to industry.
Exactly.
So another question is: is it enough to have gender balance to claim diversity? What other aspects should contractors and consultants focus on?
Diversity is just not, I think, more than gender, it's also different backgrounds, I would say. I mean, there are different things that fall under diversity besides gender. There's race, there's religion, there might be country, but yes, not just gender, I would say.
It's also the issue with accessibility and disability. I mean, a number of people have
Exactly
how the construction sector would make provisions to help those people, to assist them to be able to make a career in that profession. Yeah, so that's important.
We just submitted a grant that actually would improve our facilities and make them more inclusive for people who are differently abled. So I completely agree. You know, it's not just enough to look at the sex or, you know, and gender of someone. It's much more important to look at the whole person. Another question, how to future-proof workforce in construction industry by adopting best skills? Can you please guide best skills in this current time? So what are the best skills that we can give to the next generation?
So we, I can maybe just answer a bit about that. So we have, as a university, we have a graduate employability skills sort of roadmap. And there are a number of skills there. I mean, one thing is that we train our students to be able to work internationally. So globally, because cultures are different. And when you go from one country to the other, so things change, and how they understand the local guidance, how they understand the local practices. So it's an important skill. So making them globally employable. And Hereford University is a good example to give, because we have a campus in Dubai and we also have a campus in Malaysia. And we, a number of courses that we teach across 3 campuses, and exactly the same courses in some cases, but then some bits can be different because of the local, again, based on the local practices. For example, architectural engineering is taught in Dubai exactly the same way as in Edinburgh. But it's different in Malaysia because they have their different regulations. So I guess one key element is making them global. The other thing I would say is the skills to be able to communicate and how well we train our students to be, for example, we can write a report and it can be as complex as you want it to be. We can provide all the numbers and stats and everything, but when it comes to presenting it to a client, they're not going to understand each and everything. So for example, if we create some visual, like a 3D model, and then we say, okay, if you install this technology, this will be the cost, and this will how much it will reduce energy, then the client is able to see, oh yeah, that's easy to understand. So I think these are the skills which are really beneficial. Some of the skills, of course, we can have more.
And for me, technical, anybody can be taught, and that changes as you go up into leadership roles. But I think adaptability is really important, to be able to change your mindset and, like you say, interact with different cultures, different people, different problems. And every person's, you've got to go at every person and every problem in a different way. So if we can teach those soft skills early on, that will really set the foundation for people as they go up the ladder within the industry.
I agree with Louise. Soft skills are really important. And to me, I think besides adaptability, being able to communicate is a very important skill that's sometimes overlooked. Whether how bad you are or how good you are or how good your idea is, if you cannot communicate it, or you cannot communicate yourself and with others as a leader or as part of a team, it's you won't go that far. So I think communication is key as well.
Another question from the audience. What age or stage of education should we motivate our children to develop an interest in construction? Because I never knew I was going to be in construction. I think we addressed this a little bit earlier. Maybe it's the same question. What word or sentence would you use to inspire children? If there was one thing, a tagline, you know, something that you could give them so that they would remember it. Do you have anything in mind?
Tagline. Work hard, because no matter what you do, if you don't work hard, the outcomes are not going to be good. There's no shortcuts to success.
That's excellent.
For me, I'll be like, you can build something bigger than Burj Khalifa. I don't know, that just came out.
Okay, great. Another question, what are some of the collaborations that you are looking for or looking to form in order to drive female leadership and empowerment in construction? What are some of the collaborations that you're looking to form in order to drive female leadership and empowerment in construction?
This is quite interesting because only 1% of women in the UAE are C-suites, board members. So for me, the UAE is still a very young country, and people are getting frustrated that there's not a lot of C-suites. But we're coming up. We'll get there as the years go on. I guess if we could say most people moved here in the early 2000s, so we're 20 years into that. And in 10 years, we'll see the people that are currently executive directors jumping into more senior roles as well. So I think, again, there's organizations out there that are training and mentoring women into C-suites and boards, which are doing great. So they're working really hard. And within organizations as well, I think with the push for diversity, there are C-suite schemes within bigger organizations. I guess it's a little bit more difficult in small organizations.
Yeah, I mean, in Britain, there are a number of initiatives. Private initiatives and organizations have their own in terms of promoting the representation, but also the UK government in terms of the research funding. So they are driving this, and they're giving a lot of funds to be able to come up with innovation, with some creative projects to harness equality, diversity, and inclusion within the energy sector. And energy is a big area, so it encompasses construction, it encompasses all other different areas. So yeah, there's a lot of drive and momentum, all for the best. Of course, the change is a bit slow, but it will happen.
Ahmed, do you have anything to add?
I mean, there are many different collaborations happening, special drive from the government to support women, whether in different fields, not just in construction. I mean, if you look at the Prime Minister's office, 80% is run by women. They're not any women. They're really smart, and they're all leaders. The Expo had its own women's pavilion. You know, there is a lot of. I mean, I'm talking in general about empowerment of women in leadership roles. There is a big drive, as Louise mentioned. It started here, not just only in construction, but any collaborations within construction. I would say maybe in the PMI or the ASTM chapters in the UAE, probably. And again, as Dr. Mehreen mentioned, maybe have favor to projects or to companies that have a better diversity, or give them more funding, the ones that would have more women or more diversified workforce.
There's one question left.
Mentioning that the UAE, it's probably worth. The UAE have brought in a law where every board has to have one female member.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's a fantastic initiative by the government.
We're almost out of time, but I do want to slip in this one last question. How would you sell the AEC industry to the next generation, especially women, who view it as risky, challenging, and maybe even boring compared to high-tech industries? How would you sell it to women in comparison with other more interesting or higher tech industries?
Again, I don't understand why anyone would see it as risky. The whole country here has been built on construction, and it will continue to evolve in that way, and across the Middle East as well. Is it interesting? I've sat in front of prime ministers and some of the best architects in the world, or I've got a colleague that has invented a new digital twinning platform. And what was your last point? Sorry.
Oh, that's perfect. That was your perfect answer. Anyone else have anything to add?
I mean, for me, I would probably bring up Louise to speak to more women, to share her experiences. I mean, what she just mentioned is very motivational. I would want to work at the construction, you know, like I think having people like Louise, Marion, yourself, Ellen, would be really motivational for all women to join the construction industry.
I agree. I think that's the biggest challenge is that people don't know. They don't really understand the diversity and the breadth of experience that you can bring to the table and what the specializations that you can have. You know, you can really do anything in the field of construction. Well, I want to thank our panelists for their honesty and insightful comments during our discussion today. I know they've made some key points that I'll be thinking about for quite some time. I also want to thank Heriot-Watt University and the Center for Excellence in Smart Construction for putting this important seminar together. It was a great honor to serve you as their moderator today, and I hope to see all of you in the future as we gather as educational institutions, professional bodies, and construction companies to consider another important topic about the future of our workforce. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say a few last words, if I may. I just want to thank our panelists and the audience for such an interesting discussion, and draw attention to the next webinar, which is carbon accounting in construction, skill landscape and capacity building. More details of the webinar will be communicated to you in due course. So that concludes today's program. You may now disconnect. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye.